Hello, everyone, and welcome. We are back. Escorting the Payload. We are now, in honor of Ninja switching over to Mixer, we thought we would go ahead and join the fun. So we are now streaming live on Twitch, Facebook, and Mixer. We will be streaming live on YouTube. I think we're having some issues with it right now, but future shows will be broadcast on those four platforms. This is exciting stuff here.
Making big moves.
Yeah.
Big moves, people.
Big moves. As you guys know, if you've tuned into the show, my name is Connor Knutson, Goopy Canoopy, as you might otherwise know me, and I'm joined as always by Robert Haynes, the boss man aficionado of the Game Haus. So yeah, we're going through this week. What Escorting the Payload is, if you're coming here for the first time, this is an Overwatch League betting and fantasy show. We use BetDSI's platform for betting, and we use DraftBuff's platform for fantasy. We took a week off from DraftBuff last week, but it is now back up and running. They made some changes to it that, in my opinion, make it much more playable, increase the money that you can use to build your team, and a lot of things like that. So, all good stuff all around. We're going to jump right into it. What we like to do to start off the show is we like to go through we call it point A, point B, and point C, games you want to bet on. Point A is an easy bet, point B, slightly contested one, and point C is an upset we think you can take. So we're going to start off on point A. I don't know that we each have I don't know that we have necessarily a point A that's going to be the same this week, but I think there are some ones that we can kind of easily point to start off. I will take our attention first to the last game of the weekend, the New York Excelsior versus the Chengdu Hunters. The NYXL have struggled recently, no doubt about it. They look to be dropping out of the top 10 of power rankings. They've been widely criticized because of the easiness of their division and how they've kind of skirted by on that for a while. But they are only a minus 370 against a Chengdu team that looks anything but consistent. Has come out and looked very shaky against Boston. Still trying to figure out their identity in the 2-2 meta, I think, to a pretty serious degree. So if you're taking... I think this is a safe bet with a relatively good odd for the favorite because of NYXL shakiness. I would still take them. I don't know, Rob. I don't know what you think about this one or possibly a different point A pick.
I do have a different one, but I do think that this one's pretty good. Definitely one that, to a lot of people, I don't know if I have my predictions yet. I think I need to go do that after this, actually, for be coming up here. But I think Chengdu have that potential. We saw it last week where they pulled off a close but still 2-0. That definitely a team that if you want to make a little bit of money on, a plus 232 is not a bad bet.
Yeah.
Currently, that said, New York could easily have put it all together this week and then 4-0 them. It's not that is not likely. I will say that's the reason why this is a good point A for me is because to be the most likely scenario, now I would say it's one of the least likely scenarios. So my point A is actually going to be the Houston Outlaws team at minus 167. I do think the Reign are good. The Outlaws are better, though. And I think this is a pretty safe bet.
Yeah.
I think the Outlaws are going to come out and pretty good chance of going 3-1 in this game. And it's one that I'm comfortable putting my money on.
Yeah.
I think Atlanta's being a little bit overplayed here.
Yeah.
And I think Houston showed us after their first game a big win. In their second game that they can really be two-team.
Yeah, I completely agree. And the kind of the final game I'd point to if you want to go for a different point A than we've pointed out would be the London Spitfire versus the Florida Mayhem. London were very shaky in stage 3, and I think that's kind of dragging over into how the odds makers have made this game. They're only at a minus 769, and they look to be a top 5 team in the 2-2-2 meta. I think they're going to only improve from here on out. So they're playing Florida. I don't think much needs to be said about Florida this season. I think they've stayed pretty consistently bad. So at minus 769, that's still not a bad line for I view it as a guaranteed win, pending an absolute meltdown by London or some issue with a player not starting or something. But I think that would be a pretty safe bet to take as well. But let's jump right into point B then. These are like we say, these are games we usually either will tell you to pick a team that's either slightly an underdog in a matchup, or if they're just very closely basically that the numbers are really tight, but we think it maybe the odds could be exploited a little bit. Rob, do you have your point B for us?
I think later today, last game of the night, Valiant versus the Dynasty. I do think the Valiant are really strong right now, but I think the Dynasty are going to really start putting it together. I think we've seen a little bit of it. I know they had their loss. That game was a little closer, score might indicate. And at a plus 105, actively bet, but not an extremely risky bet either. I think pretty good odds for you to kind of take advantage of. Fleta is back, right? Like
Fleta's the meta.
Best, yeah, he was one of the best in the league last year, and I think he's somebody who can be a difference maker against a team that still lacks experience. I'm going to sit on that for a while with the Valiant, because while up there are times where I watch them and I see them do something and I go, often that could be a problem. And so I want to see Seoul really come out in situations. And now that they've seemingly their 2-2-2 roster, Ryu Jae-hung is playing regularly now. Pretty good opportunity at point B.
Yeah, I think Seoul is a team with a massively high ceiling. They just need to get their core kind of established and get something set. They've lacked identity issues since season 1, honestly. But I also think Valiant is going to struggle with that as well. So this is a game I think that I agree it's kind of a toss-up, a tough one to pick. I think that another safe bet for a team, a game with kind of weird odds, is the Guangzhou Charge versus the Hangzhou Spark. The Guangzhou Charge are at a minus 137, and the Spark are actually at a minus 105. I think the odds are actually pretty well made for this because the Spark looked so bad last week, despite them being the 6th ranked team in the league. I would actually bet on the Charge personally. I think the Charge look like a top 7 team right now, honestly. They have all the skills needed to succeed in this. They should make the playoffs. They should do well in the playoffs. I think they're going to be a very sneaky team for opposing teams to handle. So at a minus 137 against a team that's just looked disheveled, and they're missing Crystal right now because of some controversial stuff with him. So amidst all of that and affecting the team chemistry and different things, that has to be going into the locker room, whatever you want to call it for esports, the training room. I think that I think the Charger are a good bet here, and one that I would personally bet on, honestly. Yeah, and so let's move now to point C. This is again an upset pick we think you could take. You make a little bit of money on point A and point B, and you put it all on point C to double your money, basically. That's kind of what our hope is for this. Rob, do you have a point C, or do you want me to jump into it first?
I have a couple that I've been looking at, and I'm going to be honest. Like, I think that with 2-2-2, we still have the chance to see a lot of upsets that weren't necessarily as guaranteed. 3-3 meta, but one of the ones that I'm looking at, and one that I think could happen, but one that you could definitely make some nice cash on, would actually be the Justice and the Titans.
Wow.
Listen, the Titans are amazing. Really good. An 85% chance that they're going to win this game. Higher, but look a little different. And this is the first week in their first game. They're actually the favorites.
Yeah.
Mayhem. And I think that might be the first time they've ever been the favorites.
Probably.
If they win that game, first win streak ever, too. So, yeah, I'm not saying this is a likely game. There's maybe a 5% chance that this happens. Yeah. It's pretty unlikely.
Yeah.
But at a plus 567, it's one of the highest. And we don't know what could happen.
Yeah.
Very different team than they were before. So if you're looking to take a risk and really make some cash and pick an upset, this is one that I would look at.
Yeah. There aren't a lot of just great upset picks this week. I think is something to point out too. Like, I mean, you could take that, or you could take Toronto over Shanghai. I think that's another extremely unlikely pick.
Another one I was looking to. Yeah.
So I just can't do either
Really
of those. I think for me, I'd have to go with Paris over New York. I know we said to take New York in the first point, but Paris is a team that they beat Houston, who people are considering a top 10 team, and their power rankings. I mean, Reinforce had them in his for what you want to use that for. They took the Valiant to a game 5 again. Whatever you want to say about the Valiant, that's still a good game. I think they have in the Houston game, they had a very systematic use that was really good with the ice fishing trio of Roadhog, Orisa, and May. I think they have that down to a T, which I think in this meta is going to prove very important. Every team needs that at their core. So I think Paris are better than people are saying they are. I could see them being a top 12, top 15 team in the league. So I don't think they're going to beat New York. Don't hear us say that. This is not the point of an upset pick. But we're saying if you're going to risk, I would risk it on that game. It's only minus 274, but I still think it's of the games for an upset pick. I think you have your best odds on that one.
I think I also think this Defiant Fusion game might be a little closer than Kate or other Philly fans would like.
Could be, yeah.
Not saying Toronto's going to win, but at a plus 159, that's not a terrible odd to take.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, again, it's a weird week because there could be absolutely none. Really, honestly, have no idea yet because we've only seen 1 week of action in 222. So,
yeah. Yeah. So with that, we're good now. Your camera cut out for just a second, but those are the games we take this week on BetDSI. Definitely encourage you to continue to chat with us on Twitter about that. We'd love to dialogue more with viewers about the different bets, different picks in the league. Esports betting is something that's very new. We're kind of on the front end of it here with this show. There's not a lot of other shows doing this, so we would always love to hear feedback or different things you guys think would be helpful for betting. Tips and tricks, whatever you want. So, with that, we kind of move now to the second half of our show where we like to talk about Overwatch League Fantasy. There are several different websites that do this out there. High Noon, Overwatch League, or FantasyOWL.com. We go with DraftBuff. We like their system because you have to use a certain number of cash to build your team each week. It's not just unlimited. You don't just get to pick whatever players you want. So we kind of like the tactical aspect of having to use your dollars effectively. For people who have used this client up to this point, it was previously that you had $30 to build your team. Now it's $33, which actually goes a long way in this. There were some players that were just unattainable. So we think this is a huge game changer. And in addition to that, they've just made some small updates to make it a little bit more playable. There's more players that actually are going to get time at $2 and $3, so you can go for some of those higher players and take some risks. So with that, I will unveil our lineups here. All right, and here they are. So, and these are, by the way, we decided to go ahead and just stick with the 2-2-2 lock here because most likely any fantasy league in the future and most of the current ones have this lock in place because that's what the league's using officially now. So we felt like we should just go ahead and replicate that. And the flex one's fun, but in the end, you should probably just pick all Zenyatta players or flex, flex healer players. So just a bit of strategy for that, I guess. But Rob, break down your lineup for us. You got some interesting players on here.
It was weird with my decision making. I was thinking about it a lot between the teams that are playing 2 games. What I think London have a really nice week this week of their schedule. They're playing 2 games. I like to, even with the changes, I still like to try to target of realm one team that I think has a really good shot, or a couple teams are up there for me, and Justice are going to be a very changed team, and I think I started with Space. I wanted to get, some lower tier tanks. I ended up seeing that you picked him as
Yep.
well. This is the first time we've really had lineups at one area.
Yeah.
As well, which we're really happy about. I thought Space is great value. Gesture has already been lighting it up. I think he's super undervalued right here, honestly. Then I went over to supports. I grabbed Nuss because he's been playing really well. It's good to see him not only getting a lot of playing time, but playing outstandingly. Then for me, Raucus was next. With Houston, I think having a good schedule this week, I felt like points. And then Corey was an absolute animal last week.
Mm-hmm.
The Justice have 2 games. Even if he struggles a little bit in the Titans game, I think be able to not only make up for it in their first game, but also I still think he's going to be their primary DPS, in terms of getting kills and damage down. So I think he's pretty safe. And then Prophet's just a god. I wanted Prophet from the very beginning. I couldn't believe that he was only $7 because I was about to make some changes to try to get him, and then I had $7 left and waiting right there for me. So that's kind of how it broke down for me.
Yeah, I'll get into mine here in a bit. I like the Gesture pick a lot. I was very torn between Gesture and Void, each at $6. I think Space is a no-brainer at $4. I don't know how he got that low. It must have just been last week's numbers or something. But and I also really like Raucus at $6. I built my lineup from top to bottom, and so by the time I got to support, I had $16 left, and so I was like, well, guess we're going for this.
Wow. What was going on here?
Yeah, so I will say I did build my lineup top to bottom. I wanted intentionally to make sure I got 2 really top tier flex supports, so I went cheap initially, and I figured with DPS, I do like Prophet and Corey a lot. I think those are both gonna get you a ton of points, especially Prophet. He's gonna pop. I'm still just so hesitant to pick these DPS players because I think teams could move some stuff around. And so I like Stratus, for example, at $3. He's not going to play every map. Otto's going to come in for him a little bit, and he's going to move around with different players. But at $3, I know he's going to be in enough, and they play 2 games, and he was the cheapest player that's in that position. I could have gotten,
absolutely,
Hureg or something for the Titans, but they only play 1 game, and I know he's going to play a lot, but it's only playing 1 game. And so I just couldn't do it. Mangachu, another player, very cheap for having 2 games. I think he'll play most maps too. I think he's going to be in most of the time. Him and Logic's both.
I'd have to think so.
And so it just made sense for me there. Void just puts up insane numbers every week, it seems like. And so I just had to go for him. And they play 2 games, and both are games that could either be long series or they could just smash. So I think he'll get a lot of points. And that left me, again, with the support line. I think London players are at a premium. I think you have to go with London players, and so for me, I just did. I went for Badoshan. I think he's going to score an insane amount of points. And then Jonak being the same way. I was between them and Twilight, but I realized Twilight only had 1 game. And then Violet's the other kind of main flex support, but they only have 1 game as well. The Shock do, so these 2 just made a ton of sense. I'm basically what I'm trying to do this week is I'm trying to see how min-maxing goes a little bit. Skimp at 1 position, build really highly in another. I think you have a more balanced lineup, so we'll kind of get to test how these 2 strategies kind of work against each other, so it'll be interesting.
I was about to say that. I feel like we have just very different mindsets coming here. I feel like my lineup's almost close to what it could have been before the extra $3.
Just Prophet being the exception.
Which I didn't like. I will say this, though. I feel confident that my team is going to put out enough points just because I think Raucus and Nuss are good enough to make up for, in all honesty, I'm still going to be 500 points behind you with Jonak and Badoshan at support, I think. I have to think so. Unless if Raucus really has a nice week.
In support, yes. I agree. In the support role, yes. Yeah, I do agree.
So where I'm hoping to make up for it is with my Gesture, my Prophet, and my Corey picks because Corey still put up 700 points last week game, I think. So, like, I think he and they're playing weaker teams this week. Well, their first game's against a weaker team, and then the Titans are obviously going to be tough. But I still think that he won't be totally held in check.
Right.
So, I'm really banking on Profit and Gesture here. I think that those are my two biggest picks.
Carries, yeah.
We'll see what happens. Yeah, we'll see what happens. I mean, I'm not convinced that DPS aren't yet, just because we haven't had the opportunity to really see them either be important or not. I think when we saw what Surefour was able to do during the 3-3 meta, I think that was impactful enough for me to feel comfortable with spending the most money I have actually on DPS.
Yeah.
So we'll see though. I mean, it's weird. I think the one thing to point out is we both from the Justice.
Yeah.
Let's think.
That's very true, man. That's pretty wild.
That
speaks volumes. Another thing, I didn't think about this till after I built my lineup, and I would have built it differently had I considered this more. Main tank players didn't score very much in stages 1 through 3 because they're playing Reinhardt. Now they're playing Orisa, and Orisa does lots of damage. Usually, Orisas have more damage in a game than Roadhogs do. So it's basically you're balancing with the tank position between two different ideas. You're balancing between Roadhog, who's going to get healing, quite a few healing numbers from self-heal, and he's going to get a lot of eliminations from the hook pops, but he's not going to get a lot of damage. But if you play with an Orisa like Gesture, who's a really good Orisa, you're going to get so much damage and so much value out of that statistic. So it'll be interesting to see, because I basically have two off tanks, you have one of each. It'll be interesting to see how those numbers compare. Basically, Void versus Gesture, it's a Roadhog Diva player versus a Orisa player. It'll be very interesting to see how those numbers kind of collide.
It's going to be fun, man.
Yeah.
This is the most excited I've been for a DraftBuff week since we pretty much started.
Yeah, I agree. I think other players to look out for if you're looking on the thing, as far as worst value goes, Godsby is at $9 and Adora is at $7. And I'm just really low on the Spark right now, so I would honestly stay away from the entire team this week. They only play one game too, right? I think.
I want to say I tweeted it. I can find out.
I know you did, but I think they just play against the Charge.
I believe they only have one game.
Yeah, so definitely don't.
Yeah, that's right.
Definitely don't pick those two players if you want to win. And then, but I think there is some good value though. If you wanted to take a risk on Architect, for example, with the Shock, he didn't play last week, I don't believe, or at least not very much. I don't remember. I should know this.
Don't
but
think he did.
He's only $2, and they're still messing around with their rotation. He's their best Widowmaker. They have Striker's really good. I don't know. Either way,
it's pretty tough.
Yeah, that one is tough because him and Bacon Jack are $2 each, and those are two players who could, play and pop off. But I don't know.
Conceivably, well, unless the Bacon Jack's retiring.
Oh, so yeah. Freaking Chengdu, man. What in the world?
I would say for me, somebody who I'm looking at that I think's actually a little overpriced is KSF. I know he's been doing well, and he just is coming off of a nomination or partially being on Team USA for the Overwatch World Cup. I just think he's pretty overrated.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I think he's just a little overrated for me, and even at $7, I think that's just too much for me to.
I agree.
Down on him.
I agree.
Same thing with Finzi too. I know he played pretty well for them, but
yeah,
I'm not totally convinced that he's worth the $8 that's being equated to him here. I still think that Space at 4.
That's the best value.
Is pretty damn good.
It's the best value
yeah,
of any player.
I also thought Arc at 4 wasn't too bad either.
No.
Honestly,
no, it's not.
I mean, if you're, I don't know. Again, Washington's going to be this is going to be a really telling week for them. If they keep it close against the Titans, then I think that they're a team that you can put some serious cash into in coming weeks.
Yeah.
So, we'll just have to see how that goes with him, but I'm definitely intrigued, to say the least.
Yeah, for sure. And so, like we said, you can go to, I believe it's just draftbuff.com. Overwatch, make your own. We would love, if you make your team. I think there's currently like 9 people in the lobby. It's a tight knit community at this point. This is a startup fantasy site. We'd love to chat more with players and users about their teams, engage. We know some of them from the Game House. Sam and Brad, we see your lineups and we are ready to personally take you on. Expect some tweets coming from the Escorting the Payload account if we beat you or if you beat us, probably. We need to get them on the show if they're playing against us. I don't know.
Might as well. Yeah. Maybe next week. Sam, Brad, this is your chance.
Yeah, we're calling you out.
I have a feeling one of you are watching.
Yep.
I think Kate's normally watching too. Kate, you better make a lineup.
Yeah, come on. Those are kind of the 2 formal sections of the show. When we wrap up, we sometimes like to do prop bets that are just ridiculous. We usually both at this point wing, and we kind of forget they're happening sometimes until this point. So that might be happening.
We've had some pretty good ones.
We have.
Both of us.
You predicted Florida winning. I mean, that was in the same breath as predicting that you were gonna.
God tier brain.
They were possibly going to dissolve was your other prediction as a part of that, but we won't mention that.
No, that was another week.
Okay, you're right.
I bet back-to-back weeks that Florida was going to win.
That's amazing.
I'm clearly big braining here, buddy.
Of course. This is tough. Because I don't know, man.
I got one.
Okay.
I think that Fraggy and Bishu play more than 50% of the time for. That's gonna be mine.
Wow, that's bold. I'm not taking that.
I don't think it's gonna happen, but I do think that would be very interesting.
Nuts.
And a fan servicey, and I mean they've got 2 games now. They're playing London, so I highly doubt it's going to be in that game.
And
but
Spark,
maybe they think the Spark are terrible too. So
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think mine's tough. I think I have more just like win-loss predictions than anything else. So I guess I'll just do that. I'm going to say that both the Charge and the Outlaws go 2-0 this week. The Charge will beat the Spitfire and the Spark, and the Outlaws will beat the Fusion and the Rain.
I can't take that one only because of the Spitfire.
Yeah, that's the hot pick.
Houston goes 2-0.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Houston goes 2-0. I do think the Charge beat the Spark.
Yeah.
I think they keep it close. I don't know that they win this game.
Yeah. I think the Charge could easily go 0-2. Like, they're pretty chaotic and sloppy. And here's the thing is I think the Outlaws could go 0-2 as well. I think these are both teams.
Don't say that, man.
Sideshow on Plat Chat the other day said it perfectly. That the Outlaws are like a musician, a jazz artist who goes up on stage and is just riffing. And they either hit these beautiful notes and it's like melody and like they synchronize with everyone and they're playing a tune and it's crazy, or they just go up there and all over the place. I think the Outlaws and the Charge are both that right now. The Charge maybe a little bit more talented roster, but.
Have you ever seen the anime Soul Eater?
No, I haven't.
There's a thing where these guys, this team has to fight, and like, they have to coordinate it and everything, and and basically their souls have to connect.
Okay.
And to keep everybody's souls connected through the fight, one guy plays jazz piano.
That's amazing.
The entire time to keep them in the same flow. So that's all I could think of.
Basically,
and
Jake for the Fusion
that
Outlaws.
was the case.
Basically, Jake playing the piano.
Dude, Jake is.
Yeah.
Oh my God!
It's amazing.
We have to do this now. I will show you the scene,
right.
dude. It's so worth it.
And chat.
We'll do it after this.
Gottlieb tier is absolutely correct, Mallory. Thank you in chat for that shout out.
Mallory, go make a lineup. I want to see you take us on. Come on.
Yes, absolutely. That's going to do it for the show, though. Definitely tune in. We've got some great games this week. Overwatch League is kind of just back in a sense. The 2-2-2 meta has made this almost a totally different league to bet on, to approach fantasy-wise, just to watch as a viewer. So definitely encourage you guys to check it out this week. It's going to be some great games. We will be back.
So excited.
Same time next week. We've got more shows today, though. If you're hanging out and want to keep listening and watching, we have Watch House Preview coming up here in, I believe, 30 minutes. And then I think we have even LCS Weekly later after that, I believe, maybe. I don't remember. But definitely Overwatch preview coming up pretty soon. That'll lead you right into the Watch Point pre-show and all the Overwatch League action. So you can just keep it right here. You can just lock it down. We host the Overwatch League anyway, so you can just stay on our channel, whatever. But yeah, thanks so much for hanging out with us. Happy betting, get rich, and we'll see you guys next week. Peace.